as we've kind of discussed today, obviously, you know, we know that the pandemic has had a profound impact on museums. There's been a 77% drop in attendance in 2020, and sort of looking at a sort of 3-year slowish recovery in the sector. But in spite of the many challenges around that, one of the few upsides has been the innovation in digital exhibitions and resources to enjoy at home. And many museums have moved away from viewing digital as simply a marketing tool to sort of mimic or promote an on-site experience, and have instead created these unique experiences. So that sort of idea of multi-platform thinking, and Ben touched on it earlier in terms of, you know, what can the digital bring to sort of expand an experience rather than replace, is something that we've been thinking about a lot at Smartify. But today I'm going to talk about, well, to start with kind of what is Smartify, what do we do, and then I'm going to give you a couple of case studies of projects that we've worked on during the past year to sort of reach audiences at home when exhibitions were shutting. So Smartify is a guide technology. Originally, when we started Smartify, a lot of people called it this kind of the Shazam and the Spotify of art, because basically you could use your own camera and the camera on your smartphone to hold it up to any object or artwork and scan that artwork, and then get the information immediately pulled into your phone. So that kind of Shazam aspect. And then the Spotify aspect, meaning that it was a personalized guide that would work across many different museums. So instead of going to each different museum, having a different app, having a different audio guide, and then leaving it all at the door and never looking at it again, thinking about it with that platform approach that we see from the Spotifys and the Netflixes of the world, where people have their profile and they're engaging with things across many different sites and starting to build up a sort of, you know, interest that then museums can market to them and promote new exhibitions. So we're a social enterprise technology company, and our goal is to make museums accessible for global audiences through technology and storytelling. And what we really do is just provide low-cost tools, technologies to museums to help them to create and share and monetize their cultural content for audiences both on-site and at home. Just a few numbers. So we're used by about 2 million people, 200 collections currently on the app, museums, a lot in the UK, in the US. And actually over the past year, the move away from sort of traditional audio guides where you rent that device and put the headsets on has been kind of even faster. So a lot of museums now just doing things directly through mobile, via platforms like Smartify or through a QR code or something like that. I'll skip that. So it's an app, it's a mobile app. Smartify is an app. It's a free download on iOS and Android, but it also is available across browser. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. But the browser web app version of Smartify is where we've done a lot of development this year to bring experiences to audiences at home in a new way. I already mentioned the scanning technology. People really love this about what we do. So just holding up your phone and using image recognition. So I'm not talking about QR codes. I'm talking about just holding the camera up to an artwork, and you can be up to sort of 20 meters away, hold up your phone and scan an object 3D or 2D and get the information. Of course, having a map so that you can see things that are near you, exhibitions that are trending, new artworks that have gone on display, all this sort of thing. Tours, I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail later, but so tours is a feature that's been in Smartify since the very beginning, and rather than having the scanning technology, you also have that more curated experience through a museum. And the traditional version of a tour was just a kind of media player in the app, audio or video, but sort of a very traditional guide is what you would expect. Yeah, in the app you can sort of charge for those using in-app transactions. But what I'm going on to talk about is the web player version of Smartify and the engagement we've seen through doing that. So we already had a browser version of the tours functionality that museums could use, but we really wanted to build that out this year. So what we created is a sort of media player where you could have your transcriptions, video, audio, multiple images, PDFs that you can download, so if you have things to give out for children, 3D images that you can sort of rotate. So all of that you can sort of host and build your guides, and then that media player can also be then embedded into your museum's own website, if you want to sort of host it there, and also obviously shared across social media. And then that same tour looks slightly different, but it's also available in the mobile app for visitors who are on site. So it's that sort of multi-platform thinking. And then I'll come back to the browser in a minute, because I'm going to give you some examples, but I just also wanted to touch on Shop, which is a feature that we researched and began to develop last year. At the beginning of the pandemic, when the museum shops shut, tried to say that, a lot of museums got in touch with us about sort of integrating shop items into the Smartify platform. So we worked with the Story Futures Academy, which is a research group based at Royal Holloway University. And Story Futures are looking at sort of narrative, augmented reality, immersive, all sorts of immersive platforms and how to monetize those. And what we were very interested in researching is how we could integrate shop items actually into the tours and into the artwork pages, and through personalization sort of say, well, you like Whistle Jacket, so here's some shop items. Very obviously, you know, that's already happening in the e-commerce landscape, in clothing and in, you know, different sectors, but it's not happening so much in the museum sector. Usually, we looked, you know, research from, I think, the academic Kabasi in 2019 showed that that actually museum websites, they really prioritize information and the exhibition promotion, and the shops are often sort of sidelined. So there's a very low public awareness of shop items and how, you know, what you can buy related to products. So we did a piece of research last year, just kind of integrating different shop items into these kind of narrative tours and artwork pages, and we had a really high conversion rate of sort of 23% of monthly active users went through and looked at the product pages, and about sort of £5,000 in profit in 1 month just from about 100 items with no promotion. So we were a bit like shocked by that. So we are going to be building out version 2 of the eShop, and making sure it's fully automated with Shopify and things for all museums to use, kind of coming later this year. So I just wanted to touch on that as well, because I think it's interesting how starting to blend these income streams with narrative and engagement gives, you know, and obviously we see that on Instagram, but it's something that we sort of shy away from a little bit, and if you do it in a nice way, it can be really effective. But I'm going to come back to that. So what I really want to talk about is kind of 2 case studies in terms of reaching broader audiences using these tools. So first I'm going to talk about the Museum of London Dub London exhibition. This is an exhibition that opened in October 2020 at the Museum of London, just obviously a few weeks before the second big lockdown in the UK. And the Dub London exhibition is really looking at, you know, the history and culture of dub music, how it's had a really far-reaching impact across the music industry and bands like The Clash, as well as community, fashion, and sort of spirituality of music. It was a really interactive exhibition, so actually on site they had a whole sound system and lots of records that you could actually touch and play, and of course none of that could happen, and also the exhibition was closed. So the Museum of London were looking for ways to make all of that storytelling kind of come to life online, but also for visitors on site. So in terms of the visits on site, we were already creating an audio guide in Smartify. I say they were using the tools to just, because it's just drag and drop and it's really easy to do. So they were just putting together an audio guide with all the different records and songs and a Spotify playlist and everything kind of together. Let me just go to the next page. So you can see on this image of the phone how it looks in the app. So that's just basically a tour of the exhibition with different clips and video and audio that you can access, both from scanning. So if they scanned any of those objects, it would kind of show, oh, this is part of a tour. So there's kind of 2 ways in, or via following a more curated route through the tour, as you can see here. So we always kind of try and find multiple routes into content. But on the desktop version, as you can see here, it's a much sort of expanded version where you've got multiple images to look through from each stop. I just go to the next page. And they were also, I was going to play the video, but I was slightly, I was going to flip between screens, but I'm not going to do that. So this is actually a video of some archive footage of an interview. It's shot in portrait because they really want it to function for the on-site visitor as well. So in the sort of phone format, but it works equally well on a browser-based version of the platform. And so you can see that sort of mix of different content. And this, as soon as they published it, within the first couple of weeks, they had about 14,000 people watching these videos, and 1,480 took the whole tour all the way through in the first 2 weeks of opening. So it just kind of shows you, they were really surprised by that. They'd never seen that level of engagement from other social media platforms in terms of like listening to the whole tour and completing it. I think that shows also just, obviously there's huge value in putting these videos and things on YouTube and on, Instagram. But I think they do serve different functions to actually sort of thinking through a whole kind of narrative tour framework and being able to kind of post that on your website and have that sort of not competing with everything else that's going on social media and just sort of scrolling through. So they were really, really happy with that, and it's because they came at it with the multi-platform thinking approach. It still exists as the audio tour now that they're reopening, but it also had this live online that people could share and enjoy. I thought I'd just show you the back end, just to kind of show you how you put these things together in Smartify. So we have it's a kind of really simple drag and drop sort of format where you're selecting images, push in the number of locations, put the description, add your images, and it's a sort of drag and drop format for the tours as well. And as soon as you publish live, it goes live in the media player and in the app, and then obviously we can embed that back into your website. National Galleries of Scotland is a slightly different approach, so I'll talk about that quickly, and I'm going to play a video for this one.
The largest and
Can you
most
hear this?
wide-ranging exhibition on the work of Ray Harryhausen, the father of special effects. The National Galleries of Scotland worked with animation studio Playdead and mobile platform Smartify. Opening in October 2020, just before another UK lockdown, it was crucial that audiences at home could enjoy the exhibition. Our goal was to reanimate the original models and sketches of Ray Harryhausen to provide an immersive and interactive experience for audiences. We started with the animations, which had to be wholly authentic and respectful to the original artworks. Playdead received special permission from the Ray and Diana Harryhausen Foundation to take 3D scans of Ray's original models. These were then animated with authentic character movements and made into looping sequences with the stop frame look they once had. Even the detail on the textures were from the actual physical models used within the film. The animations were used as projections within the physical exhibition itself, but for the digital exhibition, we wanted to go even further, translating them into 3D augmented reality. We transferred the skeleton from Jason and the Argonauts into the Smartify mobile app. When launched, it would swipe and jab at the audience before revealing details of the exhibition. The AR feature was also tied to an audio guide narrated by film director John Landis and an online gallery of images and archive material, much of which could not fit into the physical exhibition space. Audiences at home loved the experience, which included not only an AR animation, but a guide and detailed information about objects in the exhibition.
I'll pause it there for a moment. So just to kind of give the context for this. So when we were first working with Playdead and National Galleries of Scotland, we were very much focused on the physical experience. And Playdead were building all these amazing animations for in the gallery. And we were working on the audio guide, which was narrated by John Landis, the film director. For Smartify. And the other thing that we were doing within Smartify is filling it with all the archive material. There was so much material that couldn't fit into the exhibition, so they wanted people, when they would scan, a book or a sketch, to be able to flick through all the images of the sketches and just get more information. So that was the kind of starting point. Then with lockdown, for National Galleries of Scotland, it was really important to sort of just continue to raise awareness of the exhibition, because it is going to be open until the end of this year. So they didn't want to sort of put out all of their sort of content for free, but they did want to do something exciting just to say, look, you can access some of the content and the archive material and the images in here. But also the exhibition is going to be open. So we did an app takeover of Smartify, which means that we sent a push notification out. We did the whole, across all of the explore screens and everything, it was all about the Harryhausen skeleton. And we used the animations that Playded were already creating for the exhibition, and just reanimated them for augmented reality so that they could be viewed on site. Yeah, I mean, this video was made in February, and when they'd already been sort of engaged with well over 200,000 times, and I haven't checked since then. But this, it's really engaging. Obviously, a lot of people have interest in Ray Harryhausen. There's a huge community of people who want to kind of dig down into that extra archive material. So making it all available has been really successful for the National Gallery. Let me just go through. I think, yeah, there you can see how it looks. I mean, I guess one thing that I would just stress with both of these projects is that both were delivered under £2,000 in terms of the actual production, everything. And that's just because, again, platform approach, like the Smartify tools, because they're created, our goal really is to just make them available for museums to just upload things, and it really is like self-service, no code technologies that we use. Yeah, and there you can see another image of the skeleton and how that kind of popped out, and to buy tickets. So I think, just to kind of summarize the audio guide. Next. What's next? I will show this. Book online ticket events. So another thing that we've introduced into the app this year is being able to book for the online exhibition events that people are hosting on Zoom. So lots of people are starting to host classes and have had real success in selling those. So we've also been promoting those in the platform as well, and sending people out to buy those. So just to sort of summarize, I think the kind of the main thing that I want to get across is that, yes, museums are reopening this spring and we're all really excited about it. But I would go back to actually, what Ben said also at the beginning in terms of what does that multi-platform experience offer. We found from a lot of Smartify visitors, even way before the pandemic, when we first launched Smartify, people would use it by going around a museum, scanning things, and then they would actually go home and look through in more detail and look at the things that they collected and read all the information. And sometimes I feel like, exactly as Ben said, it is a bit overwhelming to sort of expect people to fully engage with all the content when they're in the moment. So being able to sort of connect up the physical with the digital through these hybrid multi-platform approaches, I think will continue to be really important for museums and should be factored into the audience engagement plans. And yeah, the final thing is that, going digital can feel like a really daunting task, but, that's what we try to do, is provide very sort of high tech, but very low cost solutions to get collections online and programs available quickly and easily. So, I think I'll end there, but if there are any questions, let me know.